Welcome, foolish mortals, to That Park Place Live. Today, it's me and Vash Guy keep throwing it old school back to the glory days of Friday of last week. How's it going today, Vash?
Going pretty good. Going pretty good. Thank you so much. This was a special treat because I was expecting Marvin, but hey, whether it's Marvin, whether it's Jonas, I'm just happy to be here. Just doing my support for that park place. Thank you so much. And boy, what a weekend it was, filled with all kinds of theme park news and announcements. Maybe some things falling off the table. Maybe some things coming on the table. It's very interesting, Jonas.
Yeah. This is fascinating to watch. It seems to be kind of a I don't want to say a magic eight ball. Maybe it's a Rorschach test of where you are on the Disney company, how you react to the D23 announcements. We joked about it on Friday of the last time we had a D23, because they don't do these every single year. They do them alternating years, and sometimes they do one in Brazil for some reason. I don't know. Uh, they did made a lot of announcements that were not necessarily good announcements. So and now we're seeing what those announcements look like. We talked a little bit about this and that inevitable question. And yes, I am going to play that clip. You know the one. They move every time I call them out. They move. Where are they? Where are they?
Where? Where? Where, Dwight?
Seems like you already know where.
Still one of my favorites.
I hate that it's so applicable. Oh man. And then there's Avatar, which is totally coming to Disneyland any day now. They only announced it in 2023 during a shareholders meeting to say that this is absolutely coming. When you're valuing the stock of the Disney company, you need to keep in mind that Avatar, the greatest film franchise of all time, is definitely bringing an experience, or maybe a land, or maybe a ride, or maybe a meet and greet to Disneyland. And that's going to happen. It's a super high priority of the company, right, Vash?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, it's been on the table, off the table, right? And again, you have to remember, that was Bob Iger's baby. His vision to bring Avatar, especially coming off of The Way of Water, to Disneyland. Well, Fire and Ash came out. That's not good. And Bob Iger's retired. So, what does that mean for the future of Avatar? I think we got our first look at the Experiences Showcase on Saturday there, when it wasn't mentioned. I mean, technically it was, but it wasn't actually featured as a segment. And now Disney has come out and said, well, Tomorrowland at Disneyland's going to take the priority over Avatar. I don't know, Jonas. When I hear something like that, I hear cancellation. I don't hear in the future.
I'm starting to wonder if we'll get that Mary Poppins ride before we get Avatar.
Indeed, you know your Disney history.
They revitalized Epcot, the Spaceship Earth ride, and it makes me wonder: is this the same Spaceship Earth concept that they with the story light and all that mess that Bob Chapek talked about, or is this a brand new reimagining of Spaceship Earth that they were talking about here?
Sounds like it's brand new, because you'll remember at the 2019 D23 Expo, when that was announced, Bob Chapek was saying that it was about storytelling. And now, according to Ali Rubenstein, that's the blue-haired Imagineer, that is, it's about human connection. So, a little bit different. I'm sure it might use some aspects of the former reimagining, but it looks like they're going in a slightly different direction.
Well, isn't that the funny thing about the way Disney reimagines things? Eventually, the cost comes into it, and so the previous version, they'll pay an homage. That is, they're reusing the previous animatronics and themes as much as possible in order to save time. With Spaceship Earth, I would really appreciate it if they put a lot of that money into the AC budget on that massive geodesic sphere. So
yeah,
well,
okay.
No, that's okay. This is the part we're supposed to cover segments and stories, but at this point, I'm just ranting next to Vash and getting his thoughts, which I love Vash's thoughts on all of this stuff, because there's literally no one in the space that has Vash's perspective on all of this. He's not an autist, but he has the research skills of an autist. Oh.
Thank you. Do appreciate it, Jonas. That is absolutely fantastic right there. No, I love hearing your perspective. So it's good to, go through a couple of things right there because, Jonas, there's so much happening. So much going on. It's crazy.
Yep. And just to point this out, because she's so wonderful, Juliet gave us a £5 super chat. Evening, that Park Place, and chat. Well, evening to you, Juliet. I hope you're having a wonderful evening, even though it's me here instead of Marvin. Marvania will have to wait until Friday. So let us get into that first story, though. I think it's an interesting one, and it is not the traditional Disney story. It is one not about Disney, but about the reaction to Disney. Well, let's go to someone who hates us, commenting on someone who probably doesn't like us. For this story today, we are going to Theme Park Insider, an account that I don't know. I'm gonna go over here and look. It's a award-winning theme park journalism and reviews covering Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, Six Flags, and beyond. John at themeparktribune.com. Congratulations to you on your awards. I don't know why, but this person has blocked me on X. But we're still going to go to you because you've made an interesting point here. So let's be clear, to quote who I'm assuming is John at Theme Park Tribune. Tom Corliss isn't the gatekeeper of who is a Disney Parks fan. His arrogance here is unnecessary. I think there's objectively a lot for fans to be excited out from this D23, but why exclude people who have no personal nostalgia for Dreamfinder or Disneyland People Mover? Was there a People Mover announcement? Maybe we'll get into that for a moment. But as the theme park meta goes deeper here, we have the guy who blocked me and also Pro, I do believe. And he is quote tweeting this account, Jonathan Cooper, who is also, I'm assuming, taking a video from WDWNT. So maybe DWNT is also quoting the D23 Parks panel. Maybe we can get this 5 layers in of internet recycling as we go through this story. Vash, have you seen this video before I start it?
I have heard of it. I haven't actually seen it throughout its, illustrious commentary as provided by Tom Corliss. I haven't taken in all the words, but I've seen it around here, so I'm very curious to see what Tom Corliss has to say.
Well, Tom is the king of Disney fandom. He decides who lives and dies in the space. So let's hear what he has to say. He does have a unique perspective in the space. I'll give him that.
You are a Disney Parks fan, and you could not find joy or happiness in, it doesn't have to be all 4, could be one of them. The Yeti at Everest being fixed, the return of Dreamfinder and a new, in some way, Journey into Imagination attraction, a new Tomorrowland for Disneyland, or Space Mountain, the original De la Terre à la Lune, from the Earth to the Moon, coming back in Paris. If not one of those 4 things speaks to you, and you were disappointed because none of those 4 things speak to you, you're not in this. You're not one of us. I'm sorry. You're not, because if you are a Disneyland fan, that Tomorrowland news should be earth-shattering. If you are a Walt Disney World fan, either the Yeti, if you're a little younger, the Yeti, if not Dreamfinder and Figment, should be tremendous news for you. And obviously, if you're a Disneyland Paris fan, you got what you always wanted, and I'm very happy for you guys. I'm so excited for you.
Okay, Tom. Okay,
Wow.
Tom. Yeah. Nice gatekeeping there. You are not a true fan if you don't like the things that I like. Is a take. I understand. I understand how someone can have that perspective, but here's my bold take on all of this. Fandoms are not communities. Fandoms are people who enjoy a product. They don't actually have anything to do with each other. You can connect with other people who enjoy a thing, but fandom is not a community. Fandom is its own thing. If I enjoy Fortnite, that doesn't mean that I want to go to Fortnite Fest. If I enjoy Banjo-Kazooie, that doesn't mean I want to go to Banjo Fest and speak about the specific themes that resonate with me. I like Disney and I like talking about Disney a lot, but the Disney community aspect or the Disney fandom community aspect, I can't find the time for that. Uh, Vash, what are your thoughts here on this statement by Corliss here on whether or not we need to be one of us, meaning them, I guess. Wow, that sounded threatening, huh? One of them.
One of us. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and preface by saying that, hey, you know what? I've not only met Tom Corliss, I've interviewed Tom Corliss, and he's a nice enough guy. He just, unfortunately, gets himself into a little bit of trouble, which I think is what happened here. Now, I will say,
passion for something causes people to step on landmines, whether they mean to or not.
well, I think there's some confusion as well going on. Maybe I don't know if it's purposeful or if it's just accidental, but I think there's very few people actually taking the time to watch the Experiences panel, whether in person or on live stream via Disney Plus, who wouldn't be satisfied or happy or at least look with some intrigue on the announcements listed by Tom Corliss. I think that's just kind of preposterous that anybody would go scoff at all of them. That being said, though, there's a little bit of gatekeeping here. I will say, I think Tom might have been referring to the people not exactly thrilled with the Experiences panel, the presentation, that is, because Neil Patrick Harris, I think they gave the reins to him directorially, and I don't think it served the interests of the fans or the presentation or the like. There were some weird skits. Started out with a just bombastic musical number, which was really something. You had humans dressed up as audio-animatronic characters doing dance routines in audio-animatronic form. It's really something. You had a girl with a table, dressed as a table with the Man of Leota. It was bizarre.
Interesting. Okay.
And then you had, before every single segment, Neil Patrick Harris doing like an impression of Father, I guess, from the Carousel of Progress, but it wasn't exactly clear, so it just came off as awkward. There were a lot of cringy jokes, a lot of cringy, like tie-ins, like, for example, Gloria Gaynor doing, I'm still alive for the Disco Yeti.
Because it's the Disco Yeti, yes.
Right. And it's just like, as a fan looking to get information from this, the presentation was very, very lackluster. It was very, very distracting, and it wasn't respectful of the audience's time. I think that's where the negative impression from this specific set of announcements comes from. Not necessarily what was announced, but how it was.
Mm-hmm. There are some aspects that make me go, huh. I do think that Neil Patrick Harris is a very talented performer. Him dressing up as Dreamfinder actually makes me worry that they're actually going to make him Dreamfinder in the ride, which is not something that I want, because
it's a possibility, by the way.
Yeah, I know. But the over reliance on celebrity in the parks right now, like Ellen's Universe of Energy, like I understand there were some people who very much enjoyed that ride, I guess. It's not the version of that ride that I long to go see and experience again. As far as celebrities go, I suppose, Jack Sparrow being in Pirates of the Caribbean, yeah, sure. But also they changed the ride intrinsically by making it focused on the character of Jack Sparrow, who's not part of the original. But, you got to get people in there somehow. The only one that I think actually works is probably Captain EO, because that is so very Michael Jackson, but at the same time, it's very limiting. It's very dated, and that's the thing that you are doing. Also, I prefer my Dreamfinder to have a little weight on him. He needs to be a little bit pudgy. He needs to be a jolly Father Christmas-like fellow. And with his crazy Figment Purple Dragon sidekick. Hopefully voiced by Billy Barty, but who is it that does the voice of Figment right now? Is it Jess Harnell?
Oh, I actually don't know. I have to look at my notes here.
Anyway, sorry. Well, we're getting away from the original thesis of this part here, which is what if you feel no joy for this? So we've got Disney that's kind of in shambles. and they're trading on nostalgia, but it's kind of nostalgia in a strange way. So these are all announcements that are specifically geared towards die-hard Disney fans, because Expedition Everest, it's a great ride, regardless of the Yeti, even though the Yeti is the showpiece there. Uh, I think that the only reason any Americans would be aware of From the Earth to the Moon in Paris would be most likely the Defunct Land videos, unless you're a diehard, which if you're a diehard, maybe you do watch in the That Park Place audience, and we appreciate you very much. What was the other ones? So you got the Tomorrowland revamp. I can understand why anyone would look at Disney redoing an entire land and say, I don't know if I'm excited about this
Sure.
because of the current state of the Disney company. And what was the other one? The People Mover.
Yeti, I believe. Yeti.
Well, yeah. We did talk about the Yeti, but he threw something in there about the People Mover at Disneyland, and I'm going to say something that may get me in trouble with the Disneyland audience. You haven't had a People Mover in Disneyland for many, many, many years, and now I hear people like nostalgic for Rocket Rods, which or whatever the name of that other ride that was destroying the People Mover track.
Oh yes,
He's
yes,
doing-
1998.
so-
Yeah.
So
Debut of the Rocket Rods.
right. You can have people nostalgic for Aunt Jemima's pancake house that was in the original Disneyland, or original-ish in that era, or the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship that was in Disneyland at some point, or even the famous Wizard of Braz that was on Main Street, USA back in the day. Did I just throw you one that you weren't aware of, Vash?
Oh no, I'm well aware of it. I just didn't know we were going to bring it up.
Right.
Just,
The
it's a very
gatekeeping.
interesting time in Disney history.
Yeah, the gatekeeping that you can do on this, it can go on and on, endless forever. And you can say, oh well, if you didn't know who CV Wood was, you're not really a Disney Parks fan. You're not one of us if you didn't have this specific set of knowledge and this specific nostalgia for this specific thing. I actually think the problem is with Disney right now is that there is a segment of the Disney Parks audience that has media access and wants to tell everyone how to be excited for Disney. And
Yeah,
they're only positive about the things that Disney is doing right now. And the things that they have problems with are esoteric and not really things that affect the general audience. Vash, you were going to say something and I kept jabbering on.
No. I completely get it. I completely understand. Dave Goals, by the way, is the current.
Amazing. Yes, that's perfect for Figment.
Absolutely. No, I when examining the announcements, right? I think you mentioned Tomorrowland. I remember my mother actually hearing the Tomorrowland announcement. Now, of course, we both have been living with Tomorrowland wrecked by the 1998 version for well over 25 years now, and we both have a little trepidation when it comes to the redoing of Tomorrowland, what that entails. But why do we have that opinion? It's because of the recent onslaught of different projects. We're about to actually talk about one involving Epcot, right? And ground lighting. They couldn't even get that right, but look at all they sacrificed for that effect, for like the Fountain of Nations and a large portion of interventions and etc. So, if you're somebody interested in these parks and products and so forth, right, these experiences, and if you have some hesitation connected to that, it's probably because, well, you're pretty knowledgeable about the track record of the recent Disney company and its recent Imagineering teams. And I think that just, that doesn't not make you a Disney fan. It actually makes you more knowledgeable than a lot of other people. Which is very, very interesting. So there's a little bit of gatekeeping. There's a little bit of no true Scotsman fallacy embedded in there, and that's really kind of unfortunate. I think it's I can understand that Tom would be like, whoa, why is everybody so negative? But going down this path, I think was a mistake.
The only thing I'll say about Tom, and I actually am generally amused by Tom's takes because I'm not insulted by them personally, is Tom does tend to go into, my opinion is the only true opinion. and anyone else's opinions are invalidated, as opposed to realizing that he has a unique voice. And there's a great thing about there's a meme around me. Some people call me L Take Jonas when I start talking about certain movie concepts and whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie. There's a mistake that people can make to think that everyone needs to have the same opinion as everyone else, and that's where you start to get into a problem. That's where you start to get into, I don't know, the woes of the current Disney company, where they start appealing too much to a very specific demographic that happens to be Tom Corliss's age, and is maybe has a certain amount of money. And I'm not saying anything about Tom Corliss's finances at this point. I'm just saying they're going for a specific segment of the market with a specific level of discretionary spending or access to credit, more likely. So this is something where, okay, are these announcements going to get little kids to enjoy Disney so that when they grow up, they're going to enjoy taking their kids to the parks, or are these flash in the pan? I don't know. It'll remain to be seen whether or not these things actually do improve the parks. I do compliment Josh D'Amaro on going for that low-hanging fruit and saying, yes, these are the things that we are going to do, and we're going to fix all those things you've been complaining about. This is his let's buy Pixar moment. Let him have it there. And there's something to be said for seeing where the Disney fandom goes from here, because it can't be the current people only. It has to grow to include people who are maybe not impressed by Tony Baxter's original vision for Space Mountain in Discoveryland over there in Paris, as amazing as that ride might be. Vash, you got anything you want to say before we wrap this one up?
Well, I will say, I for one, am very much looking forward to From Earth to the Moon actually being restored, along with that incredible soundtrack right there.
Oh, me too.
I mean, it just sounds and looks awesome. And by the way, credit for TG Funkland for bringing that back into the public consciousness the way he did. 2.5 million views and so forth. That does have an effect on all of these things, I will say. But I think more importantly, it does appear that Disney is listening to the fandoms and, looking to, correct the wrongs of previous admins right there. I know this management team is young. I'll give credit for Disney for addressing some of these issues. How they will certainly impact how we perceive these announcements. And again, if anybody has some trepidation regarding all of that, well, it is warranted.
Yo. That was it's one of these things where I don't want to preach at anybody, but it's like, trying to get everybody to have the same opinion on everything. That's like trying to get everybody to agree that pineapple on pizza is the best form of pizza, which it's not, but it is delicious. Hey, look, Dude Man Cuz is out there. Prayers for Marv. Yes. Let's hope that Marv gets his act together. I hope he's listening right now in wondering why I said it that way. Marv's just not feeling good today, and I volunteered to say, hey, instead of you feeling like junk and hosting a live stream, why don't you let me take it, and then everyone will remember how great it is to have Marv on the show. Just a Dutchie. Jonas Jebber Campbell has a nice ring to it. Thank you very much. Wolf of McGruffle III says, Jonas, it's me, buddy. Were you transformed into a crime fighting dog? Is that you? It's you. Just a Dutchie says, Jonas mentioned Purple Dragon, and I immediately thought of Spyro. Why is Spyro? Why has there never been a Spyro television series? Why is there not a Spyro theme park land? I think it would be an amazing amount of fun for kids.
Absolutely, that'd be fantastic. But Spyro, certainly a product of the 90s. Figment, product of the 80s. So,
yep,
interesting.
Well, man, and the one little spark, man, that is such a great, and it's such a perfect moment of 1980s Disney right there. The optimism and the focus on imagination. I feel like they've lost that as a company, to where they call back to imagination the way they call back to the idea of wishes, where now it's like, oh, remember how you felt when you were a kid? We're not really focusing on that. So I make this wish to have so much more for us than this. Classic lyrics from that song that no one sings. Actually, I did hear somebody sing it the other day. That's the only reason I thought of it. Texas 84, could Jonas play Dreamfinder? Not likely, but yeah, I could put on a few pounds and get myself one of them bright blue tuxedos out of the closet. You know, I'm not sure it has the tails.
Gotta get that voice, Jonas. The Dreamwinder. That's
I love it. Vash, you should play Dreamfinder. I would rather play Figment. Anyways, Packing Protons for 5. Fake fans are anyone not a fan of the OG stuff or anything that stays true to the original creation, in my opinion. Yeah, the fake fans thing, it bothers me a little bit because there is such thing as a fake fan, but new fans and fake fans are not exactly the same thing. I just got on somebody online because he was talking about how dual sticks were were perfected on the games Perfect Dark and GoldenEye 007. Both of those games were for the Nintendo 64, and I don't know anyone who played them with dual sticks, which is like a very obscure way to set up that game. You literally have to have 2 controllers to play that game dual sticks.
Right. It's only got 1 stick on the controller, so I don't know. Perfected is a stretch.
Yeah, and it brings to mind some of the more recent controller configurations for like the Switch, where you got the 2 Joy-Cons that are not attached to each other, or the nunchucks on the Wii. You know, like perfection. No, and still, there's the question: where do you put your hands on this controller? I know there's people who love the N64 controller, but I am not one of them.
Not a great controller.
Packing Protons for 5. Dear Universal, please add a John Travolta-like Disco Yeti in Monsters Unchained. Sandy!
Yeah, like make him disco. Like just play into the joke. That's fantastic.
Yeah. They ought to, honestly. You know, I made this observation previously, is somebody said they're getting rid of the B mode Yeti, and I'm like, no, that's not the B mode. B mode was like within the first year. We're on like D or F or something. The whole discussion of B modes, the Disco Yeti is the reason that everyone knows what a B mode is.
Yes, that's the origin of a B mode, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah. There used to be a thing called a show breaking element, or a what is the phrase internally? It doesn't matter what the phrase is, unless Vash, you probably know. But there are elements that if they don't work, even if the track fully functions, that Disney would say, we're not going to operate this ride if this effect is not working. Just think about Tiana's Bayou Adventure and realize that that concept is completely out the window with Disney at this point. So it has gotten worse. We stopped covering Tiana's Bayou Adventure for the most part because it was like, yep, that one's broken. And it's not just broken. It's like nasty, like hair falling off of the animatronics. Like, how are you not able to keep the wigs on the machines? You've been able to do this since 1955.
I don't know. It's absolutely actually impressive how maintenance lacking they are when it comes to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I don't remember all these maintenance problems existing with the original Splash Mountain. I don't know, Jonas. Maybe it's a curse. Sure.
A very humid curse. Ken Reihard for $2. A current Imagineering can't assemble an IKEA table, but they can destroy a solid mahogany one. Yes, they can.
That's fantastic.
So, all right. My condolences to Theme Park Tribune when they find out that we covered their story. Us nasty theme park bloggers over here at that park place. We got another story for you, and we've all been waiting to find out what's going on with the Muppet Vision 3D theater, and well, we now know.
There we go. One more for the top. Triple decker, just how you like it.
Wow, thanks, Mr. Walt.
You enjoy it.
We will.
This one out of Drew Smith. Drew, the Disney dude. We like that fella. He's a very good theme park reporter. In fact, he got his start, or his rise to fame, covering Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And now he's covering Monstropolis. And he says, the facades of Monstropolis are on the way to Hollywood studios, from the Glob Theater, I see the joke there, I get it, to recreating Mike and Sully's Walk to Work. This is the same art I saw at the project site tour in May. Yep. Here we go. Let's watch what he
All
says.
right, here's the streetscape view of Monstropolis coming.
First of all, this is like Mary Poppins concept art kind of stuff here. I actually love this style. They could have done it in different ways, but this brings up a European style of architecture here. This this right here actually kind of reminds me of the Musée d'Orsay in France. So they're trying to evoke some very specific skylines here. Not that that's going to matter for Monstropolis, but teach their own.
Hollywood Studios. This is the same artwork I saw back in May on our construction site tour.
Okay. Do you have any observations on this? I see a couple of details here that are interesting, Vash.
Yeah, a couple of details like the what is it, the Monsters Pizzeria sign right there. I think that's kind of fun. I know that we heard
because I see buffalo wings, which I'm wondering, is there a buffalo wings restaurant here? Where is the pizzeria? Is it's I would assume that's where Pizza Rizzo.
Yeah, the buffalo wings there. I know. It was kind of he was kind of.
Oh wait, I was mistaken. It's Barfalo wings.
Buffalo wings, right there, which is obviously consistent with the monsters or gross theme. We heard from DS&Y, who also got a preview, a tour through this area, that I guess the Imagineers were inspired by Zootopia and how it came to fruition in Shanghai, right? With a lot of these windows with, kind of creatures or animals popping out and so forth. Apparently, these facades in Monstropolis might actually feature a lot of the same detail, which should be very, very interesting. Some of it kind of reminds me of Main Street, just a little bit, at least at Disneyland right there. But you can see the heavily transformed Muppet Vision 3D theater exterior.
Yeah, so they've taken off the large hot air balloon, which was the visual icon of that land, otherwise known by Walt Disney's favorite name for that, the weenie, because he liked hot dogs. That's no longer there, which I would argue that part of that is the reason why Muppet Vision 3D stopped pulling in people, is because they put it in a corner on the way to Galaxy's Edge and stopped letting people know where it was visually, because it's like, oh, what's over there? I guess there's a fountain, maybe. Oh, is that Galaxy's Edge? I hear that's big. Well, let's go in there and see how the Tunisian immigrants are doing. Looking at this, I see a couple of things. First of all, there's the redoing of this tower. It's not a heavy facelift. It doesn't appear to be a heavy facelift. It actually appears to be a reduction on what they've done in the past. Does give me a little bit of hope that this is a more complete fountain that they've got here. Maybe they're just changing the top of the Miss Piggy fountain instead of completely removing it. Bob Iger's Disney tended to, towards the end, get rid of fountains, and flowing water was really not a focus of what they were doing. Fountains became planters, etc. But that looks like a fountain to me. But
yeah,
here's... Go ahead.
I think they've said that they want a water feature in that area, and it kind of looked like it was one of those rotating balls, right, that you see in Pixar Pier or what is it, the 1998 version of Tomorrowland, right, where it's like held up by like a thin layer of water, and kids can kind of play with it and so forth. So I think that's kind of what they showed before. It might be, another fountain in this space. Maybe those plans have changed. Very interesting things.
Yeah. Now the reason for this video here is this one. When Monstropolis opens next year, the Glob Theater will present Welcome to Monstropolis. The high-tech show will feature an animatronic one-man or one-monster band with Mike and Sully serving as hosts. So we have another Monsters Inc. show. I don't know what this means for the laugh floor over at Tomorrowland at Magic Kingdom. Okay, great. I do hear that the music is going to be done by Randy Newman. That's, I believe, an official announcement. So going from Jim Henson's company doing what they did best and Jim Henson's final to Randy Newman. I do like Randy Newman. I think he's a one of the better songwriters out there, and he knows how to exist in a space like this. He's really fantastic. I still don't know that this could ever be better than Muppet Vision 3D.
Yeah, that's the open question, right? I mean, Jim Henson's last work compared to Randy Newman's first, which is very, very interesting. They were quick to point out, Jonas. I thought this was very pertinent here, that this was the first song to ever be featured at a Disney park. Created by Randy Newman himself for that specific purpose, right there, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Tiana's By Adventure, right, comes to mind as, hey,
Right.
you know what? That's Princess and the Frog. Obviously, did the music for all of that, and the fact that they didn't get an Academy Award winner or Grammy, winning artist for that is a very curious thing.
No, I'm gonna push back on that jazz musician.
Sure.
I was looking into his work. He might actually have a Grammy Award, but the work that he did doing Special Spice is just, it's very simple. It's not, it's nothing compared to his work outside of Disney. It's very repetitive. It's the kind of like verbal whatever about Special Spice, which, by the way, the ride is not about Special Spice, because it ended up that it was about a party, I guess, that is not a New Orleans, that is not a Mardi Gras party, but is definitely a Mardi Gras party. The whole idea of the plot of that ride, a little strange, Obviously, Epic Universe has Saving the World, Disney has Let's Plan a Party, and also Let's Make Gumbo, and we're looking for the Special Spice, but they never mention the Special Spice, but they have to keep that in there because they've commissioned this jazz musician to make some song about the Special Spice, and the Special Spice was the friends we've made on the way, and also you, depending on how you view it. So a little weird. I will say Randy Newman writing that song would probably make it into something unbelievably good. I mean, listen to his work on the Toy Story soundtrack or on the Princess and the Frog soundtrack, and the guy puts meaning into everything he does.
Absolutely, and that's why I bring it up, because I thought that was very, very interesting. That they are reminding people that Randy Newman famously wasn't a part of that work, because it is a next chapter story of Princess and the Frog. Princess and the Frog was originally scored by Randy Newman, a lot of those lyrics and so forth done by him. So it was kind of just, it was just odd that they would actually like make that a focus. Oh, this is the first Randy Newman song made for a theme park attraction. I thought that was really something.
Pointing out their own mistakes, right?
Exactly. That's kind of what it felt like, at least to me.
Right. So, they should have had I Got Friends on the Other Side as the theme as you go up the lift hill there, and instead it's I don't know what plays there. They don't even do Dig a Little Deeper on the way up that lift hill, do they? Which they're using the visuals from Dig a Little Deeper as you go up the lift hill on Splash Mountain. Those that bayou magic, that fog that was supposed to have the projections of the flamingos as you go. I'm sorry, we just keep going back to the same monstrosity that Disney has put into this ride. You're supposed to be able to see the flamingos projected against the fog, and that effect has never worked. So you just have this haze of purple and yellow, which I guess the yellow is the legs, as you go up this lift hill, which should be, "Are you ready?" It's
right. As Bruce Vaughan said, it's sometimes the obvious decision is the right one, right? He said that during the Experiences Showcase when talking about Villains Land. Why couldn't you get that right? And now we're on the precipice of maybe making the same mistakes all over again.
Yeah. Instead of making this into, well, the Muppets are currently visiting Monstropolis, they say, you know what, we need to go ahead and get rid of that thing over there and replace it with something so we can be fully immersive. And now here we are. We got Randy Newman, who is fantastic. I will say, If I Didn't Have You is not generally the go-to for Disney-related Randy Newman tracks, so I guess they're not using that one. And now. Great. I don't see this as something that's worthy of the Muppet Vision 3D theater, but to each their own. Vash, Is there anything that they could do in this show that you think would make fans love it? The ones that love Muppet Vision, make them love this show just as much.
Yeah, that's the problem, and this is kind of a little bit of like the Splash Mountain thing all over again, right? You are uh, you are attempting to reimagine a ride with such a huge legacy, with such big shoes to fill. Can you actually do it? I'm not exactly convinced. Scott Gustin does give us a little bit of hope, though. He says during a visit to an off-site WDI facility earlier this year, I saw both the musician and camera operator up close, and they look great. I think there is still a lot Disney hasn't revealed about the show itself, particularly the technology being used. Apparently, he's saying that those were audio-animatronic figures on display right there, which is encouraging. It's not going to just all be screens. But, like you said, Jonas, will that be enough to placate fans? You know, instead of seeing audio-animatronic characters like, I don't know, the penguins down there and so forth, and all of these beloved Jim Henson characters, we're going to be seeing entirely made up monsters characters in order to fit this show that I don't think will have nearly the same emotional resonance as Jim Henson's last work.
So I went ahead and looked it up because it didn't feel quite right. They did get a Grammy Award winner, PJ Morton.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He was not as known outside of the theme park space the way that Randy Newman is, because Randy Newman, John Lasseter tapped him on the shoulder back in the day and said, "You are going to be the guy that we go to for every soundtrack that isn't already being done by Phil Collins." And so Randy Newman became a household name to anyone who didn't already kind of know who he was. So they took Randy Newman from being the guy who made these esoteric but brilliant albums that were big in one way, and made him like, oh no, you're you've got a friend in me, is the someday my prince will come of the Lasseter era.
But did PJ Morton actually win an Academy Award? So that's why I brought that up, because
Yep, you're probably right. He did not.
Those, so.
Yeah. So I looked him up. Grammy Award winner, 4-time Grammy-winning artist, known for his work as a singer, songwriter, producer, and Maroon 5 keyboardist with strong New Orleans roots. So PJ Morton, he's a big deal, just not a big deal to me personally. I'm sure he's fantastic, and I'd love to hear him play, but he's not. He ain't in my milieu. One Magical Spark for $199. Epcot tore out lights finally. Planter next. You know what story we are about to be covering next. One Magical Spark. We don't want no short people around here. Short people got no reason to. Anyways. Yeah, I if I was going to use Randy Newman on anything, it would probably be Villains Land, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there, but okay, great. Maleficent roller coaster. That's probably going to be cool. I hope it's going to be cool. I just can't wait to see all those people who insist that theme park track needs to be inside of a building or covered up. Roller coaster track. What they're going to have to do when Maleficent has that coaster track exposed all over Villains Land. So,
open big questions right there. Can they pull it off? Will it be the Velocicoaster or Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure of Magic Kingdom? Time will tell.
Yeah. Before we get into the next story, I didn't realize Fast and the Furious Hollywood Drift is maybe Universal's fastest coaster yet.
Yes.
72 miles an hour. Is that correct?
Yep.
Holy moly! Because Velocicoaster, I mean, that thing is gluing me to the back of my seat, and I am a very tall person, and I am not a skinny little thing, and that thing is throwing me around. That is an intense coaster. To know that Fast and the Furious is going to be exceeding those speeds, amazing.
It's pretty crazy. I hope to ride it Friday, which would be pretty cool if I can get my hands on it. But yeah, it's a very, very intense coaster, and I will say a very, very ambitious coaster, given that it's like on the side of a hill and so forth. Obviously, they've been having problems with Toluca Lake residents, famously, but c'est la vie. It looks like to be a very fun experience.
Quite the complaint that they said. It sounds like someone is being murdered every 2 minutes in our backyard.
It's like, wow, that's extraordinarily specific there.
Yeah. Uh, yes, I just have to address. Most people know Randy Newman is "We Love L.A." There is a certain generation that, yes, absolutely knew who Randy Newman was, but the people who were children in 1995 were not really listening to. We love L.I. I always thought it was "I love L.A.," but is it "We Love L.A."? Okay. And I say this as a person who has spent many hours listening to Randy Newman albums, and it goes back to the Tom Corliss comments. Um, my fandom, and it does not need to be dictated onto someone else's. So when I like something, there's also a part of me that says, okay, but I also get it that not everybody knows who this is. That's a demographics thing more than it is a comment on the quality of the work in any way.
Right.
So
Right.
now let's comment on the quality of some work. This story out of That Park Place by Marvin Montanaro. Disney World gives up on Epcot's disastrous in-ground lighting after years of failure. You know what? I generally don't want to be this hard on the company, but yeah, it's a failure. It looks like Walt Disney World has finally admitted defeat in one of the more embarrassing sagas to come out of Epcot's massive transformation. The troublesome in-ground lighting installed throughout World Celebration Gardens in Epcot is being removed, and Disney crews are now filling the channels that once housed the lighting strips with concrete. This one from Blog Mickey. Look at that right there. They just ripped them out one day. And I'm going to assume that these pictures were taken by people in the park during operating hours. So this looks like a old college campus that needs a little bit of love here. You know, those little craggy areas that, maybe used to be cobblestones, and they need to come through and maybe do a little cleanup, do a little TLC on the walking trails. No, this is actually World Celebration Garden, one of the newer portions of any Disney park in the United States. Wow. Vash, what happened here? Can you give those who might not be aware of what happened here the rundown on this lighting effect?
Sure. Yes. For this new area, right? This area created to be, I don't know, Walt's. What are they calling it again? It's supposed to be consistent with Walt's optimism or vision for the future, right? And so these are supposed to be a myriad of spaces right here where people can rest, sit down, and take in all of the atmosphere that is this part of Future World, or what is now World Celebration, which is very, very interesting. Anywho's, you have Walt there. He's sitting down, and in front of him are these pylons and this in-ground lighting effect that actually does sync up with the rest of Spaceship Earth. So it creates this amazing vista into, yes, Freedom Seeker Dreamer's Point is where this is all meant to be right here. However, with this in-ground lighting effect that they actually had, well, problems arose almost immediately. Unfortunately, from what we understand, and from Braden's excellent reporting on this, him being from Mickey Views, of course, it looks like the pressure washing may have gotten into the electronics featured in that in-ground lighting right there, and unfortunately, well, you can kind of see the result of that. While, brilliant when all working, quickly it diminished. And so a series of quick fixes actually took place in order to restore this effect. They tried, replacing them outright, maybe sealing them up. That obviously didn't work. They have tried now replacing the entire menagerie of the effect with like thicker containers, let's say, for the LEDs themselves, but those actually started popping back up, creating tripping hazards. And so maintenance went in there and actually tried to screw them down at one point to keep them down, but obviously the lighting effect itself, well, came off with varying effects.
Can I point this out? The first time they tried to screw them down, they were white screws that match the unlit effect of them. That they're white during the day, matching the aesthetic of the area. And then at some point they gave up and used black as black can get screws to try to pin these things down, and mostly that you couldn't miss it, especially if you were walking through the area. The stanchions that are visible here are, or the ropes that are visible here in some of the footage that you have, are actually there because these things were popping out and becoming a tripping hazard. Like, this isn't just a broken effect. This became something that you had to keep people out of the area because it was a danger, because the lights were out. There are not enough normal lights in this area because they were doing all of this lighting effect that never really functioned. Sorry for the tangent there.
No, you're exactly you're very, very fine, because it provides context to this ongoing issue, and it has been ongoing for quite some time. Obviously, these lights make their debut in December of 2023. In November 2024, the in-ground lighting was completely broken, future unclear. November 2024, the lighting was once again reactivated. Those struggles continued. January 2025, the lighting looked terrible again as strips separated from the ground. June 2025, Disney began screwing loosened strips back into the ground as a stopgap fix. August 11th, rolling construction barriers were installed around half the central planter, and now August 18th. It looks like Disney is giving up on this effect entirely, which is a shame because, I mean, everybody remembers the famous shape language clip that we play here often. But Sachi there, who was the star of that clip, well, she made reference to the fact that, hey, you know, Geo 82, that famous bar there, was going to offer a vista into all of the synchronization that the Imagineers so lovingly placed for the Epcot overhaul right there. And alas, they couldn't actually maintain this effect, which is strange because, well, Epic Universe was able to, and even Disney themselves were able to maintain some in-ground lighting effects over there at Adventures Campus and Disney California Adventure. So why it didn't work out here? Well, that remains to be known fully.
Right. And I think there'll be a lot of theories over the coming months and years on this one. So this is concrete in this space now. So this is not that they've removed it and they're going to replace it with something else. Now, it is Disney. They do have the option of filling in concrete if they want. That seems pretty drastic here. It would be like saying that this planter is going to become a fountain. I think that putting concrete in the holes here is the end of whatever this effect was going to be. This was a project that started under Bob Chapek, I believe. Was he part of the theme park division directly at that time? So they announced this transformation of Epcot. I almost said Epic. Freudian slip there. This epic transformation of Epcot, where they were going to add a pavilion that was called the Play Pavilion. They were going to be putting in that revamp of the London area, or the UK pavilion, to have Mary Poppins. There were a redoing of Spaceship Earth to do the story light, and at the same time, exactly. And instead, we got Communicore Plaza, which is about on par with the average community college's cafetorium. Communicore Plaza, coming from Communications Corps and also Community College. Yes. There was also a National Geographic documentary commissioned at the same time about the transformation of Epcot. And it came out very soon after this about they patted themselves on the back a little too hard. By the way, of course, Disney owns National Geographic. They patted themselves on the back very hard. They did one final repair, and then I think this is it. Now that Josh D'Amaro is in charge, he seems to be going after a lot of the embarrassing mistakes that the Parks Division made at the end of his tenure as head of the Parks Division. I don't know if this is something where he had fights with the local presidents of the parks and resorts, or if this is something that he is turning around and saying, you know what, I have enough money that I can burn money the way Bob Iger did. So I'm gonna create mistakes and then fix those mistakes and pretend like I'm the savior of the company. That's classic Iger move. But this to me says, okay, enough. This amazing effect that, if you can see what they do on Spaceship Earth with those lights, one of the few changes that I've ever fully 100% agreed with that Disney has made, they put all those lights on Spaceship Earth that sync up with the music. It's beautiful. It's great. No notes. This is so cool. They tried to do that with the entire land. Epic Universe is doing this exact same thing with their entire central area of their park. And for some reason, the big dog that's been doing it for decades cannot do this in Epcot on a much smaller scale. And they just gave up, threw in the towel, and said, pave it over. We're not doing this anymore.
What's incredible is that Epcot did have in-ground lighting for years. They were fiber optic in nature, not LEDs, but they did have them. So it's just kind of bizarre that they were never able to get this working. And this was the one thing that people kind of universally loved when they actually saw it. I remember people, whether it be Disney media or otherwise, saying, wow, this is a really impressive effect. You got to come down and see this. And it indeed was impressive when it worked. And unfortunately, you laid out the grand vision of Epcot as it was originally conceived and announced, by the way, at the 2019 D23 Expo with Bob Chapek up there. Obviously, when he's, the CEO of the company, and especially following the effects of the pandemic, a lot of this changes. But this one, a factor, this one feature of this area, like I was saying before, was universally seen as like awesome, fantastic, cool. More of that, please. And unfortunately now with this new management structure in place, led by Thomas Muslim, obviously CEO Josh D'Amaro, they seem to be taking the tact of, well, let's go ahead and address those fan complaints. Let's go ahead and fix these things, Jonas. And I want to go ahead and remind everybody that the company's idea of fixing might be different from your own. And this is the best example of that.
It's showtime! Straight from the heart of the park!
Now, there's been a problem at the parks that I think all of us agree needs a little bit of fixing. Disney has been a little too focused on the smartphones here at the park. When we talk about that degree in Disney, Disney has been trying to get people's faces in phones a little too much. There's been the My Disney Experience app, which has been the bane of every mother's existence, whether or not she realizes it. I joke. Whoever the planner is in every family group is the one who gets slaved to that phone and has to check it all day. There's another app that Disney has had incorporated into their parks for quite some time, and it is finally being discontinued. The battery waster that you hand to your kids while you're in line and hope you've still got enough juice to get your next lightning lane. Well, it seems like they are pulling the plug. The Play Disney Parks app is being discontinued. This story by Trevor Denning at That Park Place. Disney is officially ending the Play Disney Parks app after more than 8 years of encouraging guests to turn time in line into playtime. Whatever you do, don't look at all the amazing things that Imagineering has put into this queue. No, don't pay attention to that. Please look at your smart device. See that notification from work? You probably need to get that while you're in here. Yeah, there we go. The free app will be discontinued on September 16th, 2026, according to details reported by Scott Gustin. On that date, Disney will remove it from the digital storefronts and prevent existing users from logging into their accounts. So this isn't even like that Mickey play doll that you could bring to the parks and he would say different things around the park. And they took down the signs, but they kept all those transponders there. So anyone who had the doll could still get Mickey to respond in different places in the park. It sounds like they're going scorched earth on this thing. Like, we are not spending any money on the infrastructure. We need this right now. We've got to retool Hulu with that money or something. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy because we actually thought some of these features would actually be embedded in maybe perhaps Disney Plus via that whole, do you remember this, Jonas? I think Bloomberg originally had this article, but it was, the super app, this one combined experience and so forth that includes Disney Parks, Hulu, ESPN, and maybe even Disney Play, Disney Plus, etc. Well, it looks like, at least with Disney Play, the Parks Play app, they're cutting that entirely.
Yeah, man, I forgot about that super app, and that's one of those things that a big technology company would want to do, whereas Disney sometimes forgets that they are a theme park company more than anything else that they do. I think Bob Iger forgot about that. Anyways, Disney's retiring Play Disney effective September 16th. The app currently powers several interactive experiences across Disneyland, Walt Disney World, including Star Wars Datapad. Ooh, Batu Bounty Hunters, DuckTales World Showcase Adventure, Attraction Queue Games, etc. Guests who want to review their achievements or save progress should do so before the shutdown. Disney has not announced a replacement for the app or publicly explained why it is being retired. Man, I don't care what their reason is. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. The thing is already a digital ball and chain, anyways. Launched in June 2018. Has it been that long? The Play Disney Parks app offered location-based games, trivia challenges, music, digital achievements, and interactive experiences at Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Disney initially promoted the app as a way to make lengthy attraction waits more entertaining. Guests could access theme games while standing in line for rides such as Space Mountain, Peter Pan's Flight, Slinky Dog Dash, Toy Story Mania, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. The incorporation of whatever it is into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, I have to think that they watched that Jenny Nicholson video. And the thing that I think is significant about Jenny Nicholson's video is that everyone had been saying that these apps are lame for a very long time, but you finally get someone who is not in the culture war, at least on that side of it, in any way. And all of a sudden they go, oh, wait, maybe we should listen to this. She tried to do a bunch of the Play app stuff when she stayed at the Galactic Star Cruiser, and none of it worked in any way that is satisfying. And any child who is using this, I don't think they had magical experiences using the phone. I can't think of any Disney experience that is made more magical by phones. Now, the Magic Bands, there were some interesting things there. Actually, the putting your name in rides, which I now am on the other side of that. I want more privacy. I don't want anyone on the ride knowing that I'm on the ride with them. I want to be here with my family. Some of that was kind of magical, kind of like E.T. saying my name on the ride. How in the world did you get my name, E.T.? That's obviously Universal. But now we have a battery drainer that your kids are now asking for your phone while you're in the line. And I think this is a great decision on Disney's part. Vash?
I take a little bit of a different tact with this. I think Disney was trying to do something that was a little bit out of the ordinary. Let's say, you certainly had like activation points like embedded in queues, like Peter Pan, for example. I think at Magic Kingdom, where you could activate Tinkerbell and all of that. And the data pad, well, it didn't really amount to what I think people really meaningfully wanted from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the ability to play and interact and all of that. It was kind of a substitute with maybe some of the more ambitious things that they were doing, like with the Legends of Frontierland test that occur at Disneyland. I think 2015, 16, 17, thereabouts. There were a lot of things that were very, very interesting, like for example, the ability to like make steam come out of the Millennium Falcon. That was kind of cool. Or make droids beep boop bop. That was very, very interesting. It would also track your progress, which was, that was kind of cool. Where you go and you see Hondo Onaka there at the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run attraction. He'd be like, "Hey, welcome back," and it'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I do have that Disney Play app right there." But unfortunately, I think the amount of investment required to keep that going, to keep that operational, and to keep infusing that kind of technology throughout their parks, I just don't think they saw the ROI, which is why they are now decommissioning it, which is kind of interesting because like the Bounty Hunter kind of game that they have in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge actually has a retail component attached to it, like the Magic Bands, for example, the Magic Band Pluses or whatever. And so they have said that that's going to continue probably because people purchased the Magic Band Plus for that reason. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how they actually do that without this app. But this is pretty big news. This was, that kind of technological innovation, that next-gen thinking now gone from the company's coffers.
Now, I'm gonna counterpoint one thing because there is an interesting aspect I was not thinking of, and I'm not going to be
Mhm.
completely positive for Universal when I say this. I
Mm.
actually really like the way that Universal does their app, which is it brings you into Super Nintendo World. It's not flawless. I don't perfectly love it, but if you have one of the power up bands, there are achievements that you can do within the land, but it's very specific, and there's only one other land at Epic Universe that you can do this in, and I don't want to see this proliferated. But Super Nintendo World is an excellent example of how this kind of stuff can be used. But
Right.
one negative and one positive. The 35, and I think it's now $45 that you can that you have to pay to get a power up band. Okay, sure, but that's only so it can work with the app. You can also do all of the app stuff without, I think you can actually do it without actually using the app. You can still go around and you'll get all the sound effects and you can experience 95% of this. The stuff that's locked behind a smartphone, I I want that smartphone as disinvolved as possible. I want it to be that I've picked up my smartphone so that I can check and maybe I can mobile order so that I can like look at the menu while I'm in line. That's the only line that I want affected by a smartphone. the
Yeah.
the idea of a grandparent coming to one of these parks with the littles and being like, okay, well, does my phone have the tech specs it needs in order to run this app well,
Right.
and how much is this going to run down my battery? Again, I'm not trying to bring that up over and over and over again, but when we're talking about uh, being at a theme park, hopefully all day, if you're paying the exorbitant price in order to do this, this has to be accessible to everybody, and the ease of use needs to be something to where the average cast member needs to be able to intervene and make the experience great. Now, I'm going to say one negative thing about Universal here that I think they really need to fix as soon as possible. When you do the wand experience through the app in the Harry
Mhm.
Potter lands, the number of
Mhm.
times that I, as a person who is actually pretty patient with tech issues, the number of times that I had to quote unquote find the wizard with the spell book, which is an iPad, and get them to fix the problem, which means that they just look at my account and say, yeah, checkbox, you did the thing. That was super lame. Absolutely incredibly lame. And there's way too many tech issues on that side. So that's the negative thing I would say with bringing smartphones and apps into this experience. It's not magical. There are fun things that can be done, but man, I just, if I'm going to a theme park, the unique thing that I am doing is I am going into a theme park space. I have a smartphone at home. I don't want to bring it with me. I probably will bring it with me because I have a technology addiction, but I shouldn't have to bring it with me.
Yeah.
Bash. Am I
No, that
crazy? Am I old
I
man that yells at cloud?
You're not crazy. I think there is a certain charm that is lost when things have gone so virtual, when things have gone so digital, when things have gone so mobile intensive, right? Mobile phone, that is. And when you're forced to go back to that phone over and over and over again, there's a nice simplicity in even Universal's implementation of like the power up band, where it's not so phone dependent, where you can just kind of snap it on the wrist, start playing. And I think that's kind of a cool thing right there, right? Now, that's a very interactive land. That's a very interactive property. So it all makes sense. I think where this really fell short was like the Jenny Nicholson thing, right? Yeah, sure. The Play app was included with your purchase, and you can go ahead and your purchase of your ticket, that is, and you can go ahead and start playing immediately. But it just wasn't engaging. There just wasn't enough feedback. Let's say there wasn't enough reward, and it you know multiplied the issues connected to so much digital infrastructure that you had to interact with on a constant basis when in the parks. And we actually heard that internally from Disney themselves, where they were like, look, listen, people have actually bought into Lightning Lane, or at that time it was actually Genie Plus. It's like they don't want to go to their phones over and over again. Phone fatigue is a real thing, and it's in internal company documentation right there. And I think they were just I think they're just looking at this and going, are we getting the return on investment for how much we're actually putting in? They actually got rid of a lot of the stuff connected to like mobile checkout and all of that, which was a retail initiative. So them kind of pulling back on some of this stuff, I think could be a win, but it's going to be interesting to see how they implement interactivity in the future.
Yeah. The last thing that I want to say about this, Leslie Iwerks right now working on Imagineering Story season 2, which Imagineering Story I think is the greatest thing that's come out of Disney Plus. I think she was working on it well before Disney Plus was really a thing.
Right.
But in some of the appearances that she made, she talked about how Imagineering was trying to work on ways to use the phone to interact with the environment to get people's eyes out of the environment. I think the reality of it, and I commented this online, that using the distraction machine to try to pull people out of the distraction machine is not going to work. And I appreciate the idea of it, but it's not going to happen. Eddie Sato, may he rest in peace. And enough time has passed that I'm going to reveal that I did end up having some private conversations over the internet, not in person. So anyone who wants to sully his name by saying he interacted with that Jonas Campbell, don't worry, it's just DMs. Nice fellow, by the way. He talked about how hard it was to do all of this, and that he thought Leslie Iwerks was talking about some things that were positive in the experience. I appreciate the idea of dealing with something like this and trying to use where people are to get them to the place where you want them to be. But I think the problem here is it's not like advertising on television for how great it would be to get outside. This is bringing your television with you to say, hey, we're going to put something amazing on the television. Keep lugging this thing around. I think Disney needs to differentiate their products, and anything that pulls you into that phone is a negative. And it needs to be done as little as possible. In order to make this thing magical, you've got to do things that people cannot do at home. So doing virtual reality, they can do that at home, and no one is buying it. Keep this in mind. Virtual reality has been around for decades, and no one is buying it at home because the people who are doing it, it's still a niche market. So Disney, just hear me out here. Just make magical experiences that cannot be experienced in a smartphone, and you will have something great. Maybe make a huggable robot, and then we'll talk about whether the robotics push was a good idea. Vash, I think that's probably a good spot to wrap it up and get to the final story. Oh, wait. One Magical Spark for $2 says maybe was cost and data usage on free Wi-Fi. Yeah, there is some of that, but here's the thing about Wi-Fi usage. They're trying to get everybody on the Wi-Fi so they can take your data. And that's an explicit stated goal of the company right now. They want as much of your data as possible. They want to know if you're doing other things on their Wi-Fi, which is why they give away the free Wi-Fi for everything you're doing. That they want you on the My Disney Experience app. They want that super app so that they can know that if you're sitting there, they want to know if you're shopping Amazon for Disney products. They want to know if you're doing a universal booking, if you're looking at your express passes for the next day, which I don't think that's how express passes work for Universal, but whatever. I'm not paying that much to get them. They want to know everything about what you're doing on your vacation. They want you to book your Universal vacation, if you're going to do such a thing, which they don't want you to do, using the Disney credit card. So they have all of that data. The dumb thing that Josh D'Amaro said on the call when they said, hey, what if you licensed your shows out to other platforms and actually made money off of them? He said, no, the data is more important, which is dumb.
Yes. Why would you ever admit that? Which is, it's like, oh, you're in the data selling game, that is. I do believe that's a little bit part of it right there. But yeah, they would love to. This is kind of why Josh D'Amaro has said that he wants Disney Plus to be the welcome mat, basically, for the Disney fandom or a person engaging in Disney to interact with the company, right? Because if it starts there, obviously then they know your viewing history, watch history. They know maybe what franchises to invest in, what to pull back on, etc. So it's going to be, this. I think this Disney Parks Play app was maybe consistent with that philosophy, but I just don't think the payoff was necessarily there. What's interesting is, and Animal Zone Info actually brings up a very interesting question. The problem is how you're going to interact with Disney Galaxy's Edge now. I think that's kind of an open question, right? Because, obviously you had some interactive elements which were kind of cool. Like I was saying, the steam coming off of Millennium Falcon. Is it the last time we actually see that effect? I don't know. All that we've been given in terms of information regarding all of that is that the Bounty Hunter game will still be a thing. But then, how is that going to actually be implemented? And are there going to be ways to interact with some of the kind of physical things attached to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? I don't know, but it kind of proves, if in fact these games were like super popular and Galaxy's Edge was super awesome and everybody loved them, they would continue to do that. I think this is not only acknowledgement that this app didn't really come to fruition in the way that the company wanted, but I think this is also admission that a lot of the interactive elements embedded in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge weren't compelling enough.
Well, I don't understand why they didn't get out of the data pad, which you don't see a lot of data pad usage in Star Wars anyways. You don't see them going around with data pads. That's a Star Trek thing. That's not a Galaxy's Edge. That's not a Star Wars thing, because it's not a sci-fi show. It's a space opera. It's a space fantasy. It's a fantasy that happens to be in a futuristic environment. I don't know why they didn't come up with some kind of like Jedi training band that you could wear on, quote unquote, wear on your wrist, or have something that was like a Spider-Man kind of thing where it's on your palm and it helps you when you want to wave your hand at a interactive thing in the land. So it can be really go for that Potter swatter there and have everyone, including the 40, 50, 60-year-old men who love Star Wars back in the day, the kind of guys that still wave two fingers at an automatic door when they go into the grocery store. Why Disney didn't go for this and have the John Williams themes playing while you use the Force? Okay, well, what if we tried to lift things with the Force with our hands doing a rising motion? It's so easy, and yet they don't do it.
I heard that was part of the plan. That was the kind of the funny thing, Jonas. It was that they were working on concepts in which people would actually bring, like they would wear like a force glove, right? And they would move objects and stuff, and they would move ships up, and it was super, super cool. It was awesome. Apparently they tested it out in Glendale and all of that, and I just don't know why they didn't actually pursue it, because like you said, Jonas, like, sometimes the obvious is like the way you should go, is the correct move, as Bruce Vaughn himself said, which was incredible, while he compared Villains Lane to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. That's not good. But anyway, it's like just, if it's supposed to live your Star Wars adventure, then give us the means to do so. And you could have had a product that you actually sold with this, and it could have all worked out, especially with that John Williams score and everything like that, which Drunk 3PO, by the way, Jay, he actually went down to California for the first time, experienced Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Disneyland, and he was like, man, this is so much better than what is available in Florida. Why we didn't get announcements for the John Williams music to be brought over to Florida, not sure. And why they didn't actually go with the Force Glove concept, it just breaks my brain. But maybe that Disney Parks Play app was like more worth it at the time than some of those other concepts. I don't know, but it didn't work out.
Right. They go through this whole thing and say, well, we want to have our version of butterbeer. But then somebody says, you know what? We need to make sure this is vegan, dairy-free, protein-free,
Right.
all of this stuff. And they end up with this monstrosity of science that makes everybody make a face whenever they drink it. And I know people who think that butterbeer is a little too sweet, that they will at least get one butterbeer every single trip, despite the fact that what are they, like $7 now?
Oh, they're a little more than that. I think they were 9, at least in the University of Hollywood.
So, it's I don't want to be too belittling, but it's not that hard, guys, to give people what they want. Lion King, for instance, that they didn't use the word book report ride, but that looks a lot like a book report ride, and you're not getting a lot of complaints about that.
Yeah, they said the same thing about Coco, by the way. I don't know if you noticed, Jonas. Oh, it's next chapter story. It's supposed to be a year after the events of the original Coco, but we're diving into Miguel's memories of the first Coco. Oh, okay, so we're just basically doing the first Coco.
Yeah.
It just look. It's okay, guys. It's all right. You can give people what they want occasionally. It'll work out. I promise.
Everybody hates Ariel's undersea adventure, right? Because it's only covering the iconic moments from the movie that everyone loves, right?
Exactly.
Who wants to relive the moments of the movie they've already seen and are here to reminisce about? All right. Last story here. This one, well, we need to talk about this one more fully.
I just can't wait for 3 days of you and me.
This time we are talking about a video from Drew the Disney Dude. It's that lovable Josh D'Amaro animatronic wandering around the stage there. I actually do kind of like Josh D'Amaro, but thought I'd give him a little jab. He's got to be a little bit more smiley these days. Let's hear what his thoughts are on the Disco Yeti.
It's unbelievable. Or the Yeti. It's crazy, right? So these are just things that people are passionate about. Get this massive crowd reaction, which
So he's right. This is something that people love. And here's the actual tweet. Disney CEO Josh D'Amaro is excited about Figment's new ride and the Yeti being fixed. These are the kind of things that if you have someone paying between, I don't know, what is it, $200 to $2,500 for a ticket to go to a Disney Parks and Experiences convention panel show out in California, these are going to be your most dedicated fans. They are going to be the evangelists for your product. So yes, of course, they're the ones that are like, you're fixing the Yeti. Absolutely. You're bringing back Dreamfinder. Absolutely. Here's another one from Braden. This one, the crowd excitement for Yeti and Dreamfinder functioned as a guest survey in real life. The CEO was there. The parks chairman was dropping the news. If they thought guest interest / ROI on these were marginal, the crowd proved to them that these characters are loved and important. And Thomas Maslam, this quote here being provided by Scott Gustin, said one of the biggest roars during the Experiences Showcase came from the reanimation of the Yeti at Expedition Everest. The AA figure is being refreshed and repaired. Look at that fella. He looks scarier than the day I met him.
Yes, exactly. It looks much scarier, actually. It looks like the scene, if going by the concept art, of course, that can change. It has been reworked a little bit, too. Obviously, we see a little bit more lighting in this scene. We can see some fog and maybe a redressing. That could be very, very cool. But I am kind of shocked that the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, that being Josh D'Amaro, who worked at the Parks Division for 30 plus years, would actually be surprised that this would be one of the largest roars from the crowd, going with the Yeti theme, of course.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, everybody remembers the obviously the famous Discovery documentary going into how they actually constructed this whole thing, how much they actually amped it up, promoted it, and so forth. And it is the central figure which the entire ride is alluding to, from the moment you walk into the queue until you actually get to this point. And it had been gone, not operable, for 20 years. And it's kind of like, why are you shocked that this would be a big deal? This would be absolutely a huge deal because, I remember when Joe Rohde was like, I promise I will get that figure working. And then he retired. And it was like, oh, this is just never happening now, I guess.
Man, that Yeti. Yeah, by the way, and I'm going to bring this up. I did get to see the Yeti while it was operational. That was I was not a fully grown person at that time, but I did get to ride Expedition Everest within the first year, within the first few weeks, I think. And I did see the Yeti fully operational. I did go into the mountain pass there, and then oops, I guess the track is destroyed. And that thing is magnificent and scary and wonderful while you're in a roller coaster. For a person to be on a roller coaster and to not be thinking about the fact that they're on a roller coaster, they're thinking about the animatronic, that is an achievement. That is an amazing sleight of hand there. So the legend here, and this has been complicated, and there's been so many conflicting statements from theme park influencers and insiders, and also direct statements by the company that seem to go back and forth on whether or not this Yeti can be repaired or why they had to shut down the Yeti. I think the going story, as I understand it, and Vash, feel free to correct me on this, is that the Yeti animatronic is so large that it is literally tied into the foundations of the ride, and moving that massive animatronic was actually causing some kind of cracks in the foundation. That was the going story for a very long time, and I believe there were some Disney sources that seemed to back that up or hint at that being true. And then some stories in more recent years said, no, that's not really the case. Vash, any insight you can give me would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the actual power of the mechanism itself and the weight involved. And basically, while it was active, it was essentially destroying itself, right? And maybe even doing damage to the mountain. But obviously those are a little bit more unclear. But it's very clear, at least to me, that something with its design certainly went wrong, and obviously it was rendered inoperable, which is a shame. But as we were talking about before, this is what gave rise to the B mode discussion, right? And internally at Disney, this changed everything, Jonas. It was like, okay, if we are going to have a central figure like this, it needs to be obviously accessible, right? A way that we can actually work on it and operate on it and ensure that it actually works consistently. And in the case that it doesn't work, we need to have a legitimate B mode that is better than maybe a strobe light. And so we've seen that design implemented, like at Navi River Journey, for example, with the na way ah. We obviously know what happens when that figure goes down. There's a screen that is projected over it, and there you go. We've seen that with Kylo Ren over there at Rise of Resistance, etc. So now it becomes an issue of, okay, well, what is actually involved in actually getting this to work? And from the stories that we have heard, it means that there is, a surgical approach that needs to be made, but it is obviously very cost intensive and might actually see this coaster down for a period of time. Don't know how long that is, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, a year, etc. But it's in Animal Kingdom, and for a park that only has a couple of attractions, obviously that was a no-go for theme park operators. Now, on the precipice of maybe getting Tropical Americas with its new Encanto ride, and the reestablishment of Dinosaur in the form of Indiana Jones and the Myth of the Jade Serpent, I do believe, Mystery of the Jade Serpent. Anyways, now we can maybe take this right down.
I know for a fact that you know what's going on in that ride. By the way, I bet that Carnotaurus is going to be transformed into a lizard, or a giant snake. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. I think that's probably the way it's going to go. I know during the presentation they actually said that, it's going to be a fantastic finale there, which makes me think, no boulder. Interesting. So it looks like it might be the actual serpent himself. We'll see. But for this figure right here, it is fantastic that they're looking at this and going, hey, we're going to go ahead and correct these issues. I will give Thomas Muslim and Josh Giamaro, all of that crew, tremendous credit in actually attacking this issue. And it does look like it's going to be a reanimation of this figure in some way, maybe using a different mechanism. We've heard that Bob Gurr had this idea of maybe making like a puppet thing, where it's kind of like a marionette almost. That could be very, very interesting. You certainly get a lot more motion than there is now. But how they're going to approach this, Jonas, is what has everybody talking.
Yeah, this is one where the question is whether or not you literally have to destroy the top of the structure in order to get in there, to get the equipment in there, in order to so the ride will definitely be going down for this. This is not something that they're just going to do a quick temporary fix in order to get it going. There have been so many temporary fixes on this. I think the current version of Disco Yeti that started, I want to say, around 2008, maybe a little bit after that. So this has been for almost 20 years been in strobe light mode. So there are people who were born after the Yeti went into strobe light mode that are doing their first year in college right now. Like this has been where this has been for a very long time. Disney didn't see, as was indicated by Braden, didn't see the ROI on fixing the ride because they've been headline chasing for so long. Well, now they have their headline. Now it's a mix of headlines. There has been a trend at the company to bring up the shareholders meetings of doing a lot of headlines that are things that seem to be smoke and mirrors and things that would not necessarily be of interest to fans, but would be of interest to shareholders. Like when Bob Iger said, "We're paying a bunch of money in order to get Taylor Swift onto Disney Plus." And that's the kind of thing that shareholders would say, "Oh, wow, that must mean that Disney Plus is a legitimate streaming service." But they would pay $75 million for $5 million worth of new subscribers and hope that nobody notices that the values don't line up there.
Talk about an Avatar ride or experience coming to Disneyland and then not mentioning it at your parks panel 3 years later, that kind of thing, Jonas.
Right. Mentioned in 2023 as something that, that makes the Hollywood trades right there. They're saying, Avatar, you have heard of this global property, Avatar. We are definitely going to have an Avatar experience. Oops. Bob Iger, I didn't mean to say that Avatar is coming to Disney's California Adventure on the earnings call. They did quickly clarify those comments. They literally changed the transcripts on that one. There, not going to happen for a long time. They want everybody to think that sometime in the future, the biggest film property that is on the top of the charts right now is coming to Disneyland. They're just not in any rush to get it out there because maybe Avatar doesn't have the same cultural impact as the dollars would indicate. But looking at this, I think that they're going to have to do a lot to this mountain. I think it is more money than it is worth to do it. And Disney doing this is a good sign for the parks that maybe Disney is the kind of company that will actually put money towards a good product that is more than what people anticipate and exceed expectations on this. Maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe that's seeing signs that are not there. But I hope that this is a sign of more things to come for Disney parks to finally bring back the value for ticket holders because they ain't lowering prices anytime soon. Bash, you have anything else to say to wrap us up?
I'll say this. I give credit to Thomas Muslim and his team. We heard that he was taking a serious approach when looking at guest surveys, looking at reducing guest friction points, and improving the operation of the Disney parks. At least that's what he was saying to the media in February of this year, actually, when talking about Disneyland Resort, when he was Disneyland Resort president. Now he's maybe taken that thinking with him, with his team, to the next level, to be chairman of experiences, and he said this: Figment and the Yeti may not be household names to every Disney guest, but they are certainly favorites among our most loyal fans. I want them to know that we hear them, and as a Disney fan myself, I can't wait to see these characters back in action. He's saying the right things, but as we've said before, words are cheap. Actions, like this one, might be an entirely different story.
That was to you, Vash.
Thanks.
And the audience. Yeah. Oh man, this was fun. And Just a Dutchie says, for €6, can we get more streams with the two of you? Really enjoy the interaction. I probably even me and Pro, like I would say me and Bash have a good back and forth in a way that even me and Pro don't have. So it's a natural thing. This feels good, as it were, but I don't know. We got to look at my schedule with the projects that we've got going here on that park place, and of course, Vash is off building the Vash Sky Parkcast. Which, when are you streaming next, by the way?
I'm going to be streaming after this program, actually. So whenever you conclude right there, don't worry, we'll start up right afterwards, and we'll get going right there. Going to be talking about some interesting things on this program there, Jonas. Talking about how Bob Iger himself has gotten a window on Disneyland's Main Street. Oh boy, how excited I am to talk about this topic and whether or not he's worthy of that honor.
Oh man,
we'll see right there.
Master architect, and that what a amazing set of words to describe Bob Iger.
It is amazing. In Waltz Park, by the way, chief architect. Okay, Bob. We'll go into all that and so much more right there, like Tiana's Bite Adventure, adding signage to say, hey, stay in your vehicle or you'll be escorted from the park. Tomorrowland, what does that all include? Should be a lot of fun over there at the Vashkai Parkcast. I want to go ahead and say, Jonas, as well, that service dog, Indiana Jones in the Pursuit of the Mythical Modern Audience, that's fantastic.
Well, yeah, they threw in there, by the way, we're going to have Harrison Ford's face on the Indiana Jones ride. And I don't care, but thanks. I didn't realize it wasn't. I didn't know it wasn't his face on the other attractions.
Oh no, it was not his face. Jonas, this is very, very interesting because maybe those not in the know don't know, but for Indiana Jones Adventure, when it first opened in 1995 at Disneyland, it famously did not feature Harrison Ford's likeness nor his voice. So you had this bad voice actor who would, try to do his best Harrison Ford impression. It just didn't work out. Apparently, he was, Harrison Ford that is, against the idea of them doing an attraction at all because he wasn't consulted or whatever. The history is muddled right there. But
I like to imagine
this is the first time.
Wagging at them as he tells them that this is not something that you need to do with my face.
That's just my character. It belongs in a museum. No, no. but the fact that he is involved with this is actually a pretty good sign that maybe, possibly, we get his likeness and his voice on other versions of Indiana Jones all around the world, including Tokyo.
Well, that's amazing, then, and great. The thing for me, as far as I'm concerned, the ultimate experience is the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular at Disney MGM Studios. Now that's no longer around. Now they've moved it to Hollywood Studios, which is not as good of a park as MGM Studios, in my opinion. I don't know how much it cost them to move it, but to each their own. I don't know. One of these days, I'll actually have to get out to Disneyland and ride the original original Indiana Jones ride and see what it's like. It was a Tony Baxter one, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. And back at the time when Disney used to spend some real money on these attractions, I think it was like $100 million back in the day, which was extraordinary. It is fantastic, Jonas, one of the best rides at Disney, and Tony Baxter has ever done.
Well, so Vash, how do we want to work this? Do you want me to keep vamping here and you go hit the button on your countdown? The redirect is set. Everything on my end here is like I can just hit the button and you can go, or maybe you're over there right now. What do you want me to do on this?
Well, let me go ahead and hit the button right here, and I'll go ahead and get the countdown started. My countdown's like it's 3 minutes, I do believe. So we'll go ahead and get that going right there, and we'll go ahead and we'll see all of the That Park Place audience on over to the Vashkai Parkcast. We'll be talking about so many of these stories right here. I figure, Jonas, I know you're extremely busy doing all kinds of stuff for That Park Place, for Pro, for, well, all of that you have going on, and I want to go ahead and alleviate you your time there, and make sure that you are able to fulfill all the duties that are asked of you.
Oh, so, man.
I'll go
thanks for reminding me. No, actually, this was a lot of fun here, and I always love streaming with you, Vash. And I actually don't get to do live streams in the same way that I did at the start. There's a lot going on in the background here at That Park Place, and of course, we're working with Geeks and Gamers, and we've been there's some big stories that are probably going to be dropping on both sites very soon, and I'm not just saying that. We're actually waiting to find out when Fox News is going to be covering something so that we can honor them with the right of first refusal on a story that I think will be of interest to let's say the Geeks and Gamers audience more than That Park Place audience. But there's some things going on in the world that should be of interest. So if you're not following either site, go bookmark those sites. And of course, in the short term here, what you need to be doing is just buckling up. You are going to be automatically redirected. The theater will move and you will stay seated as you are pushed into, whether this is your journey into imagination or the carousel of progress. Enjoy it as you are moved over to the Vashkai Parkcast.